Hello.
Hi everyone, welcome back.
To
Have
our
a,
kitchen.
yeah, back to our kitchens. Yeah, it's great. We love our kitchens, don't we? So
We do.
I've invited Larissa to talk today about her spiritual awakening and awakening journey and how that happened. And yeah, so would you like to
What
tell us?
a, oh my gosh, what a intense subject to talk about.
So
It-
weaves.
Yeah, like again, like I'm still in this awakening process, but it's been a long journey, and it's interesting because there are times where I was like, oh, this was the start of my awakening journey, and then I look back at things that have happened in my childhood and I was like, oh, wait, maybe I've been having these awakenings throughout my younger years and didn't know what it was or what to label it as. But
Exactly.
it's been nice to chat with like-minded souls, and that's helped me really piece together this crazy puzzle
Yeah.
that I've been trying to put together. Um, yeah. So I don't know where you want me to start because
I know. Well, I know it's so complex, isn't it? I have the same thing with my journey. It's like little things that happened to me when I was a child then make sense like at a later point. It's like we were always left those messages or something. I don't know, a little spark, little seeds to wake us up. I don't know where it is a complex journey. Start wherever you feel comfortable when you were young,
Yeah.
recently,
So,
whatever.
um, well, I guess I just have always known I was different. I felt like I tried to fit in with my peers and got along with everybody. I didn't really have issues with people, but there was always this lingering feeling that I'm feel like I'm having to play a different role than who I really am. Um, and as a child, being alone for me was fine. Like I didn't mind playing off, in the woods by myself. Like that was something that I really enjoyed. Um, and yeah, I would create these like magical worlds in my head and feel like I was this woodland creature in the,
Oh,
just running around the woods, and whoever wanted to join me, great, and if not, like, hey, I'm cool with being by myself. I've been pretty comfortable with that my whole life, even though I had a younger brother, uh, but he had his his own thing going on. So yeah, I feel like it was nice having a younger brother, but also, yeah, there were times where I'm like, I need my alone time. So I knew that from a very young age, like knew my boundaries and my space. Um, but I don't remember having like, other than I have spoken about this on Taylor's show, but I did have like a imaginary friend. Uh, I would say probably around like 3 or 4 is when my parents started noticing me like having this relationship with just someone or something. But I'm trying to remember what he or she looked like, and it was funny because if when I think back on it, I used to tell people that it looked like the character Alf. I don't know if you know that show from
yeah,
the 80s.
yeah.
Like I used to just imagine him looking like that, and his name was Stanley. So it's like such a weird I don't know thing to be creating in my mind, but my
That's
parents kind of went along with it. My mom was a little bit more, you know, she was a teacher, so she enjoyed like engaging with the imagination. So it
it's
wasn't
probably
really
it's probably some higher dimensional being.
right.
So, have you seen there's a movie? I think is it Inside Out, and the imaginary friend out of that is kind of a bit like Alf.
I know what you're talking about. I haven't seen it, but yeah, I know what you're
I
talking
thought
about.
just interject that. Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah,
like some higher dimensional consciousness that you were connecting to. Who knows?
right. And it it started to dwindle away, as I got older. When I guess I'm making more friends and they're not really seeing things like I am. So I tried to be cool and, I guess I turned it off because when you get to a certain age, you can't really say that you're seeing things and talking to things because you may be put in an institution. So, um,
Yeah, so
and there's nothing wrong with that. Like I'm now realizing that it's it's sad because I think there are people who really truly, are connecting with potentially other beings and, they've been called crazy their whole life. And I think now people are coming out of the woodwork talking about this stuff and I don't know, it's just interesting.
normalizing it, isn't it? So there's going to be generations growing up where it's normal to talk about,
Yeah,
wow, did you see this and that? And can you see that aura and this energy?
e- exactly. Yeah. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out over like next, I don't know, couple decades.
Yeah,
Interesting to see how the mental health industry changes to cater to starseed children and, uh,
yeah,
treating them not like they're, you know, in insane asylum
exactly.
patients.
Because up until now, like you say, you're ridiculed, aren't you? And you're said, oh, don't be silly, you can't see that, that's not
Yeah.
there, that's not real. So you go with what you're told eventually, don't you?
Yeah.
And try and fit in with your friends,
So yeah,
not be so odd.
right, exactly. It was all just like, yeah, me trying to fit in with my friends essentially. And um so I didn't really think much of it until fast forward to when I turned 16. I was part of this like adventure camp thing. It was like a hiking trip for 2 weeks that we took in Hawaii, on the big island of Hawaii. And one night I was, we were, camping on the beach, and I woke up, or I had, this was like my first ever sleep paralysis experience. I woke up, but I couldn't move my body, and I started kind of panicking a little bit because it was so crazy that I was totally 100% aware of what was going on around me, but I had no control over my body. And I started like, I closed my eyes because I was like, this isn't happening. Like this is fake. And I I looked through there was like, in tents they have like the mesh little screen so you can look out. And we had it open, and I am convinced that I saw three like shadow figures. Like I couldn't see what they looked like. It was just like dark, but I knew that there were three beings standing out in front of the tent. And everyone else, like I know everyone else was asleep in their tents, and we weren't near like anybody else. Like we were on this kind of secluded area on this beach. Um, I know this is going to sound crazy, but then remember shutting my eyes again because I was just trying to take in like what I was seeing. And I don't have a history of sleepwalking, so this was very weird for me. I woke up probably 100 feet away. I was in the porter potty that was like part of the campsite. I was sitting on the toilet and I opened up and I was like, I don't know how I got here. I had no idea.
Whoa.
There was no recollection of me walking to this porter potty. I had my pants up. It wasn't like I was going to the bathroom. I just had been like sitting there.
Yeah. And that
And
was when you
what?
had sleep paralysis, and then
Yeah,
you close your eyes and you're there in another place.
yeah.
So what did you get a bad vibe from the shadow being? Or
Um, Well, so there was one other part to the story. So right before I saw those shadow beings, I remember looking to my side for a second because I was able to somehow I could move my head. That's what I because I remember I went like this, and where my friend was sleeping next to me, it looked like there was like a demon face staring at me. So that was actually what made me kind of like just be like, no, no, like I'm not seeing this. Like this isn't real. Um, let's just say I didn't feel happy. Like I wasn't excited to
Yeah.
like be having this experience, but I was like, and then after the me being in this porter potty, I was like walking back to the tent, and I was like, I can't tell anybody about this. I was like, they're gonna all think I'm crazy. And for the rest of the trip, I had to like keep my mouth shut about it because I was like, I don't want anyone to think that like I'm crazy.
Wow.
But I just find that whole situation it was one of those like moments where it really shook me. And I have talked to some people who are from Hawaii. Actually, recently I had this conversation with a girl who's from the Big Island, and she was saying that um, they're very superstitious there because of the spirits and things that are there, and like they have weird rules about not going down certain streets at night. Like
Wow.
that's yeah. So I was like, maybe I was dealing with something. Like
Yeah. And it picked up because you were so, uh,
I'm so open.
yeah, so open and like a beacon of light for them.
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah, I was going to say there's a lot of stuff over there, isn't there? They're very spiritual how they deal with the land.
very spiritual. Yeah, there's something on that grid that is
I'm sure there's a portal there or something, some sort
yeah,
for
right.
you.
And and again, it's like I wasn't asking for this. I never, I wasn't doing any ritual type thing. Like I was just like camping with a
Spontaneous.
group of kids.
And it's just such a shame that you felt like you couldn't talk to anyone about it and you had to keep it to yourself, feeling worried about
Yeah, I
it and just
really
feeling like
haven't.
you're going mad because you can't believe that something like that's happened to you. Unexplainable things.
Yeah. So I had to keep that on the DL for a very long time. Like I think I actually haven't really told anyone until maybe the last couple of years now, meeting people who are talking about all these experiences, and yeah, I now don't feel as crazy, but I had to turn that one off for a little while. But then since then, I probably have had two more sleep paralysis situations where, well, the second one was, I think, due to just stress. But when I at college, I ended up having a weird um, thing happen, but I think it was due to like I hadn't slept in like 3 days. It was during my senior thesis, and
You
I
go into
didn't. I
the
was like
shadow
hopped up
world.
on Adderall and Red Bull for like a week. So I like, yeah, I think I may have self-induced that one, and it was just like my body being like, you need to rest. But um, the last one happened right at the beginning of the pandemic, and that was really weird because I was able to see like lights. So I had gone to sleep, and I woke up again, same situation. I can't move my body, and I'm like, oh, here we go again. But at least like I wasn't in that panic mode now because I was like, okay, I know what's happening. And then all of a sudden, a beam of orange light went through my window, and I was like, this is it's definitely not the street light. It's like coming in through the window. And then I was like, oh, no, no, no. Okay. I'm closing my eyes again. I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. And it was so weird. It felt like someone was taking and I think this may have been like the beginning of me feeling like what it's like to astral project, because it felt like someone was taking my spirit out of my body, and like it felt like the whole room was spinning. and I just felt my hand reach for my husband's hand, and it was like I didn't want to let him go because I was like it just felt like someone was taking me, and I was like no no no, like I don't want to go yet.
You just wanted something physical to hold on to.
And then everything went away when I like opened up my eyes again. And then I just see these three little orbs flying in the corner of my room,
Wow.
and then they just dissipated. And I was like, uh, okay, that's weird.
Yeah.
So again, I was like, I can't tell that. Like, I tried to explain it to my husband at the time, but this was also when I'm being red pilled, so I already think I'm crazy. And it just was like all this stuff at once because it was right when like I had to shut my store down because of quarantine, and I was like probably in a stress mode, but still I just wonder why these things are happening to me.
It's,
And
I,
yeah.
I think when I was going to say, if you notice, like when you have a red pilling or like an awakening, to what's going on, it is you also get the spiritual awakening that comes with like the knowledgeable awakening, of realizing that there's a one world government and you know we're all the stuff. Again, that's awakening.
Yeah,
Have
it's like all connecting the dots finally.
your brain, it completely blows and you just become susceptible. I don't know, it's like a spiritual awakening, isn't it? It's a whole thing.
And it also can like so there was a actually you just reminded me of another story. Um and this was more of like me releasing pain to experience the divine connection, if that makes sense. So I had been traveling. I was managing a sailboat down in the Caribbean, and we sailed to St. Lucia, and that's where I met um, my Rastafarian friend, who really threw me into this whole world of health and just taking care of your body. He was definitely, I would say, like my spiritual teacher. He became he was kind of my guard while I was down there, because being I was alone as a woman being on a boat, and he kind of became my protector because it's you got to be careful, just being a woman.
Definitely.
Unfortunately, that happens. But he, yeah, he became like my guru, and I remember we had gone on a hike to a waterfall, and he was really good. He did like healing touch and also like massage therapy, and we were doing this whole like just ritual thing in front of the waterfall, and we smoked a little weed, and it was just like a really nice experience. And
Oh, good.
I just remember him after he had done whatever he did something on me, and I'm staring at the waterfall, and I just was overcome with like I can't explain it. It was like sadness and happiness both at the same time, and I was crying. Like I couldn't stop crying. And I remember staring at the waterfall, and it was like I could feel like spirit was talking to me. Like there was this crazy connection, like that was like my initiation into this next phase of my awakening. And I just remember leaving that place and just being like so fulfilled, but also like I was able to let go of some past traumas that I had dealt with. And um, that also I felt like helped cleanse my system, because a part of your awakening is also awakening your body too, because I had been living such an unhealthy life. I had come from living a very dense 3D world before I went on that trip. And I think that trip saved me, honestly, because I was not a healthy person at that time. I definitely had gone through the ringer through, just from being going to college and destroying my body and not doing healthy things. And um, I think that was spirit being like, nope, you're going down the wrong road. We have to
I
have you
think,
meet this person. And it was so life
yeah,
changing,
I
so
was gonna
cool.
I was gonna say that you met that guy for a reason and you were drawn to that place for a reason.
Yeah.
I find that sacred places or natural places that have like a real sacred healing energy, don't they? And it's like we get drawn
Oh,
there for these spontaneous healing events like that, you know.
yep,
It rebirthed you, saved you, didn't it? And I think
I
that
did.
can happen to lots of places that we get drawn to, can't it? That's
Yeah, because
amazing.
it's just knowing who I am, because I am a very happy-go-lucky person. Like, it doesn't take a lot for me to, like, get out of my sadness and be happy. But I feel like that was a time that I could tell that my mood was not right. And when I started to feel that, when I was like really getting low, I was like, there needs to be a change, because um, yeah, I know myself, and I was listening to my body and my spirit, and I just knew that there was something not right. So I guess whenever, whoever's listening to this, if you're just feeling guided to, I don't know, get out of whatever slump you're in, it is possible to get out.
Yeah.
And there are little, and I mean, you don't have to go to a tropical place to have this happen, but it is nice to, I don't know, at least start going into nature more, because that's, I think, what really helped me get
Yeah,
out of
that's
that
what I was
rut.
going to say. Nature, anywhere in nature, even just a
Yeah.
lone tree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tree,
Little bush.
grass. Just
Yeah.
anything, just seek it out. And there's something about being in the trees, isn't there? Ancient places. It really is so
Yeah.
beautiful.
The vibrations too. Like, I like to sit on the ground,
Mm,
because it really, like, gets my root chakra,
yeah,
like, in line. So yeah, whenever I'm out, if I can, I like to, like, really, sit in the grass. And I think about that too, is like looking back at what I was doing as a child. Like, I could sit in a field, picking dandelions. I used to, like, make, like, little dandelion crowns, and I I don't know, just would, like, zone out. And
yeah,
that would be like my fun time. So I think about things that I was doing as a child, and I'm trying to bring that back now into my life.
yeah.
Uh, so I
I've
think
been
that's helping
thinking the same lately. Trying to remember those things because you are just in pure play mode all the time.
all the time. Yeah.
When you were talking about how you would play as a child, I totally relate to that. I'm sure many of us can. Of just being in that imaginary world. We had like these oak trees and trees where, and I could see fairy doors and everything. Even found
Yeah.
a stick with an eye in it once. Had an eye in it. It's so weird. I know.
An
I left
eye.
it. My mum threw it out because I left it in my pocket. She washed it. But it was a little stick. We had a dry stone wall and it had a green eye in the stick. I don't know how it was possible, but there was like, it was
Like a
green.
taxidermy eye.
I don't know. To me, it was an eye, but it was like unusual. It was like, I felt like it was some sort of little alien or something. Like
It's like a little
disguised,
messenger.
yeah, disguised in the stick. Or
Yeah.
or like something like that. I knew it was something magical, so I kept it. I don't. Do you remember doing that as a kid, picking out? I still do it now. Anytime I go to the beach or
Oh,
anywhere, there's a really nice stone or nice stick. Or
I have shell stones, glass, like sea glass. Oh, it's so bad. I come home, my pockets are full of sand and shells, and I've got rocks always falling out of my pockets. Sergio, oh, oops. But um, he just, he like laughs at me, because he's like, "Oh my God, like, what is up with you?" Like, don't mind me. I just have my sticks and things to play with.
yeah, I know.
Bring me
It
more
gets
joy.
you get tripled out with the more kids you have. There's loading you up with
Right.
stones and shells as well. But they're
Yeah.
great, aren't they? And they have got energies, and you know, we have a thing for getting stones with holes in because they're like nature's circles, magical.
Excuse me.
Are you okay?
I just choked on my spit.
I do that. I do that.
Excuse me. But yeah, I like getting little treasures from Mother Nature. It's
Me
I
too.
don't know. I just take it as like little gifts from my guides or something when I find something special like that.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, little feathers, coins. It's usually something.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Have you?
So
Oh, sorry.
yeah.
I was
No,
going to
no, no. You,
say, have you been drawn to any other sacred places that you've had spontaneous healing? Because I know you like to travel a lot, don't you?
yeah. Well, this in 2021, I went with my husband and happened to meet up with some friends that happened to be down there in Tulum, and that's a very highly powered energy um, system there. They have Chichen Itza, which is the big pyramid where the Mayans have, done maybe not so good things to people.
Oh,
um, the one with like the stairs going down.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I've been there twice now. There was just something calling me the last when we were there. I was like, we have to go back to this place because I feel like there's and I've had this conversation. I can't remember if it was you, but it's like sometimes I feel like my aura does something to the grid, like
Yeah.
wherever I am. Like I don't know if it's like I'm cleansing
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
area because I have now looking into it, a lot of the places that I've been to are very like sacred, holy places. Not even wanting to go there for that experience. It's just like I found out later, like that they are big energy centers. So yeah, that area apparently is very powerful. And I had done a big healing experience there. We did what's called like a temazcal ceremony, which is it's like a steam bath in a hut that you do, but it's a 4 hour session and it's very um, like you have to get very uncomfortable. Like this is not rainbows and sunshines type of healing, but that experience, I was on the ground, like digging in the earth. Like I was very close to the ground, and that experience, I felt like I was healing something from my ancestors. Like that was what I felt during that experience because I do have lineage to Mexico, so there was something
Wow.
within that ceremony that I felt very drawn to, and the synchronicities during that ceremony was unreal. Like the shaman who was doing the session, her name was Larissa, and I was like, oh my god, I was like, is this future me?
Yeah.
Like being a shaman. Um,
I wouldn't
but
doubt it.
it was a really cool experience. I'll never forget it. But I did feel like I I did something to cleanse the earth there because yeah, there's been a lot of ooh, the history there is
Yeah, it is.
ooh,
It,
it's not rainbows and sunshines. Let's just put it that way.
no, definitely not. Yeah, did it feel quite heavy, the energy when you were there?
Yeah, and especially right now with what's going on politically, I did not feel safe there. So I think whatever is going on, like they're definitely cleaning house with some of the unfortunate 3D world stuff that has taken over that area. There's a great documentary called The Dark Side of Tulum, which I highly recommend watching. Um, just because what's happened in the spiritual community, I think there's been this unfortunate um, misconception of spirituality, and people use it for more of a monetary gain. And down there, you know, they're building so quickly that it's destroying the environment there, and the local people are getting pushed out just because people want to build their healing sanctuaries and are destroying like cenotes, and and they're creating more. It's a big tourist trap, so they're unfortunately there's like more trash getting, and we were just talking about this, like um, yeah, there's more trash everywhere. So I was a little kind of like taken aback because I was like, oh, this place, is known to be such like a big spiritual healing place, but yet I feel like it's doing the opposite for the people and Mother Earth.
Mm.
So that was just kind of a rude awakening that I was like brought into, because there's a lot of good that can come from the spiritual world, but we have to be holding people accountable, I think, for how they're treating land there. So that was a yeah, an eye-opening experience being there. I really hope that people will start to catch on and maybe bring
Yeah,
it back to how it should be, because
we'll definitely link that documentary that you mentioned underneath.
yeah, I'll find it for you. It was really good.
It's such a
Um,
shame we can't live how we want to live on the earth, and that only corporate machines get to choose, and we can't just live in
yeah,
harmony like we would choose, and in places like that. Such a
exactly.
shame.
Yeah, and that was like another place too. I went last year. I got to go to Lebanon, which, oh my God, that place is like it is out of the Bible. Like I felt like I was living in biblical times there. But it's sad because unfortunately their government has like basically abandoned their people, and the place has become like it's so sad to see what's happened there. And um but that was another place that I felt very connected to. Again, like I mean, I'm not religious or anything, but there was like a moment I was like, like I was sitting under a tree. I remember in this area where these really interesting rocks are. Like what it looked like, it seems like the area that we were in used to be underwater because the rock formations looked like they were like giant, almost like coral formations. And I'm sure way back in the day it was underwater.
Yeah, wow.
Uh, yeah, and
Bumps.
the locals were saying that like those rocks are very healing. So every like occasionally I'd go out into these areas and just go for a little walk, and I remember sitting under this beautiful tree. It was like this lone tree amongst the rocks, and I just felt like I had like a Buddha moment, and
Nice.
it felt so good. The energy there is it's amazing. Yeah,
Caution, drawn to the healing rocks.
yeah, yeah. That place was wild, and yeah, I feel like I really needed to go there. There were a lot of things that were preventing me from going there. We had a lot of restrictions trying to get to Lebanon, and I felt like there was some force trying to prevent me from going there, because I couldn't tell you the amount of bad like luck that I had dealing with the airport situation. Like we almost had to cancel the whole trip, but I was like, no, we need to go. And finally, when I stepped foot there, I was like, yes, like I did it.
Yeah. Nothing
And
deterred you.
nothing to, yeah, I was like, I'm gonna persevere because yeah, I feel like I'm meant to bop around and just travel to these places to
Yeah, I
just
agree. I think you're a powerful grid worker, and you do have that.
yeah. And that's what I'm coming to realize, after talking about this to people. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe this is my mission. Cause like I can't sit still in one place. Like, me. Like I just yeah, I need to be bouncing around. So this is why the last 2 years have been killing me because I'm like, I'm such a jet setter, and I'm like, this has put so much restriction on that, and I can't wait for things to open up because I definitely have a couple more places I need to to get to, but
Not long
yeah,
now, hopefully.
I'm just we'll deal with it. The time will come when it's perfect.
Exactly.
I need to get back to the UK. That's one of my other
Yes.
places.
I
I've
can't
always
wait.
to go to Stonehenge. I've never been there.
That's exactly what I was just thinking. Where we
That
need to go.
we
And the
need to go.
tour. We need to go to the tour in Glastonbury.
Where?
The tour. It is the painting. It's the building on the painting. So it's like
Yeah.
on top of a hill. It's like really magical. And you
Oh,
know,
that's an actual
Glastonbury.
building.
Yeah, yeah.
Exists.
It's actually huge. If you that little archway you can see, you'd be like a tiny little speck in that. I will show you some photos later, and you'll see what it is. It's like,
Too.
yeah,
Oh, awesome.
over there. Something to look forward to.
Yeah. Oh, see, this is great. I love it. You all are always teaching me new tricks. So thank you.
And
That's awesome.
they're not too far apart either, so definitely a trip up that way. And there's
Yeah.
the also in Glastonbury is the Michael and Mary line, and the different spring waters, and that is where the ley lines cross over. And you've got the positive and negative polarity water, something to do with
Oh,
Mary,
cool.
Mary and
I
Michael
would
line.
love to get some water from that. So I collect water.
Yes.
I'm like such a weirdo when I travel. I'm like, please don't throw out my water bottle because I have special water there. Yep. I will definitely be bringing my canteen there.
Yeah, people do like
That sounds
create little
magical.
elixirs out of it, or use it for spray, or yeah, like
Yeah.
little crystal elixirs. I think that's how you say it.
Yeah. So fun. Yeah, that part of the world too, I'm very attracted to because of I have blood lineage to, well, London apparently is where like where it all began. And then also in Cork, Ireland, I have lineage.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I'm always interested in the histories of that part of the world.
Me
um,
too. I'm just eating a bit of chocolate. I
yeah.
get I don't get to go places much because kids and all of that, but I get spontaneously called to places. Like
Yeah, where would you go next if you could fly anywhere?
if I could fly anywhere, I think I'd want to go to Mount Shasta.
In California?
Yeah, I guess, but it's California. But yeah.
I've never been. I think Alexis was just telling me about it. She's been there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, ask her about it. I've actually surprisingly have never been.
Yes. So there we go together. Yeah,
Yeah, I'll save it for when y'all come to the States. That'll be fun.
I look forward to it. Can't wait.
Yeah, because there's some cool stuff happening on that in that area. There's like a vortex, right?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of light codes there, I think. Portal to the different dimensions. Maybe even a chakra. I can't remember which one. It's one of the
Oh, cool.
chakras, isn't it? Glastonbury's the heart. I can't remember. It might be the third eye or the crown.
Interesting.
Yeah, I have got some of Diana Cooper's books with the information in about all the chakras of the planet and stuff.
Oh,
No,
I'd love to do a little thing on that. You
yeah.
should do a video.
Yeah,
Cool.
I know.
Because I've heard people talking about like I follow that guy like Matthias de Stefano or something. He's become pretty popular in this world, and he was saying how he was guided to like activate the throat chakra of the world or something. I was like, okay,
I don't
whatever you
know.
say.
Yeah, I don't know that guy.
Yeah, he's from Argentina, and He does. Oh, he was on the Gaia Network, and he was talking about like past life um, stories, and um, yeah, he does a lot of energy work. It's really cool.
Really
But he was
excited.
discussing that, and that's where I was like, wait, so the Earth? Like I forgot that like everything has, I feel like, a chakra system to it. Um,
Yeah, and an
that's cool.
energy field.
Yeah. But anyways, what how so as I digress, sorry, I kind of somewhere else. So how did you get going in this world? What was your awakening experience?
I find it really hard to pinpoint when it was because it's lots of experiences, like you said, just little things here and there, questions, always
Mhm.
asking questions, always wondering, like having that feeling of like something's not right here. I can't
Right.
take that at face value, what you've told me. I need to research from a very young age. So
Yeah.
I went to a Christian school, and they tell you God has got the answer for everything. So I took myself off to Sunday school to find out some answers to my questions.
Yep.
They didn't like my questions, and I didn't get any
Because they
answers.
didn't have the answers, right?
Yeah, lots of things didn't make sense to me. So that was that. But I had lots of experiences like angels come around me, but I was kind of obsessed with ghosts. We all were, and I
Yeah.
got scared of the things that I was seeing. But definitely had that like always feeling of like feeling different and like knowing that the world around us wasn't what we were being told.
Mhm.
Just things didn't add up.
You saw through the bullshit.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's easier to see in retrospect now, isn't it? Because you're just like fumbling your way through, aren't you, when you're young?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I guess I was always quite spiritual. Never really accepted anything that was told to me. Just had to always research and go on my own crazy path.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
had, I think, yeah, I suppose I knew stuff when I was young because I had an auntie. I have an auntie, and she was, into homeopathy. She had the Hands of Light book, so she taught us about chakras and auras, and how to like make energy balls with your hands, and how to
That's
see.
so cool
And
that you had
then,
that in your life.
yeah, love that. So I could do that from a young age. And then the Celestine Prophecy came out when I was about 11, and I remember hunting it down with my older sister, trying to find it to read.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's your
that was like a massive part of my awakening. Actually, I was only 11, but
only 11. Oh my gosh.
yeah, that's when it came out. But it was like the 90s, and yeah, it was like the in book to read or whatever. Everyone was going on about it, I guess. But it was always like a small fringe of people, I suppose, back then. But if you're into that, and there was always like you could go to the hippie shop, you buy all the crystals and all the joss sticks, and there'd be all sorts of stuff from India there and all around the world, and I loved it. I wasn't so much into oracle cards and tarot cards when I was younger, but yeah, when all those you seek out those places and people, don't you? And,
Yep, always been interested in any hippie. Anytime I smelt like the incense, I was like, this is my shop.
yeah, I loved it. Even now, it like brings back like happy memories to be
Yeah.
like that. Oh yeah, so the Celestine Prophecy that has a lot of stuff in it about synchronicity, and he's like on this journey, and like how like trusting and going with the flow, and just taught you all of that sort of stuff. And I guess I used to just read a lot of books like that, and then have my own experiences that, like you said, of just like things I'll jump to when I was a bit older. I used to have experiences. So I was working on my chakras quite a lot. I'd have another level of awakening. And I was starting to channel, I guess. And
Cool.
I didn't really understand it that much because at first, it's all like sunshine and rainbows and like, yeah, oh, energies, oh, I can see this and do that. But you don't realise what you're opening yourself up to and not protecting yourself, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, there is that level of like excitement that I don't know, you forget yeah, everything else. And once it, you get attacked, you're like, oh, just kidding.
Yeah, and then that starts you on a whole other journey, doesn't it? I was like, right, how do I protect myself? What is this? What have I just seen? What have I just experienced? And
Yeah.
part of it, isn't it? So I'd say I get drawn to like really powerful places as well. My sisters lived in a place called just opposite Maiden Castle, which is a really ancient like fort basically. So it's built within a hill. The hill's at the top, but within that there's so many. They've like dug out the hill so it weaves. So it looks like circles from above. Anyway, it's got such a powerful energy around there, and they recently started building on the land around it. And I went to stay there. Like I said, I was just learning to like ground myself properly and do all my chakra cleansing all the time, and it started awakening me to new stuff. So I couldn't, when I'd stay there, I could never ground into the earth. It like stopped me. It was like, felt like gravel, concrete, grit. That's the feeling I got when I try and like push my energy down into the ground. And I
No.
would have like, actually previous to this, when I'd try and fall asleep, sorry, previous to like grounding myself, just trying to remember what happened, I'd try and fall asleep there, and I'd never be able to go to sleep for hours and hours because my whole mind would be full of like visions of war, of rape, of, probably shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that word, of just like pillaging, like armies coming through villages, like ravaging it, setting things on fire, just like, and I, anyway, reverting back to when I could ground in, I saw it all again, and I realised what I was seeing was like old battlegrounds, and I was like tuning into that energy.
Which probably happened on that land.
Yeah, it did, exactly. But before, I used to think I was crazy. I was like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I sleep? Why am I seeing things like this? Because I didn't realize how psychic I was, even though I like knew about stuff. I didn't realize what those gifts meant or what they were, or,
Right.
what I was, or didn't trust it, I guess.
Yep.
I
Yeah,
know
that's the big thing is trust in that world.
you don't want to talk to anyone about it, do you? You think you're like crazy. So I just kept it to myself until I found maybe like the odd person to talk to about those sort of things. I think I did my holistic therapies at college and found a friend,
Oh,
that was like, oh yeah, I see this too, and I see that too, and then you start opening up, and
oh, that's
that
awesome.
sort of sparks that awakening within each other, doesn't it? Because you're
Right.
we've been doing lately, all that stuff, all this stuff we're talking about, we've kept within, haven't we? And felt
Hmm.
like we were so odd and so weird, apart from the odd person here and there to talk to about it.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was a crazy experience. I had another experience there as well about, and it was a pulsing beam of light on the full moon, like beaming. I'm sure it's like an energy center that normally receives, but it like switched out, and like, I don't know, it was like two-way beam of light coming out of this land. It was so intense.
Cool.
I was just like, like you were saying, how you're there and you're doing something to that ley line, that grid, you're like doing something really, really powerful. Not by
Yeah.
me, just by being yourself and being the like facilitator or activator, like a little crystal or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, we are, I feel like, just moving crystals.
Yeah.
Just being like boop, 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 boop. Okay. Cleanse the energy. On to the next thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I can't remember. Yeah, so that was the crazy experience. Oh, my awakening so all over the place. I think then I was parallel also like finding out about um, maritime law, and like how everything's fake, and like how our birth certificates are like just building and like shipment bills, and how we're all controlled, and like we're in a like open prison, and like there's like this plan to to
That's a
work
whole
stuff. Yeah, so that
rabbit hole.
was part of it as well, and realizing all this stuff, and it kind of like shifts you away from other people, doesn't it? When you like wake
Yeah.
up to that sort of stuff, you find that you can't have like meaningless conversations. You can't make small
Yeah.
talk. You find that you are, I don't know, you separate from people.
Yeah, and it's not anything negative to the people that aren't awake, but it's hard to engage like now even. I can't go to social gatherings. I feel like unless like I know who's going to be there because I'm like I'll freak people out. Like I can't keep my mouth shut anymore. It like comes out like vomit and I'm like, "Oh crap." Like cuz I accidentally do this at work too. I'll like activate people and I'm like, "Oops, should have kept my mouth shut, but here we are."
No, maybe
Sorry.
that's what it's all about, that we've got to do this, get it out.
And now's the
awaken
time.
people, awaken people, just with
Yeah.
your little tidbits.
But I'm trying to exercise more patience being around the sleepers. I'm trying to because I know what it, I mean. I was there. I can't talk. Like there was a time where I shut every bit of this off, and I would have if I had met myself back then. I'd call myself crazy looking at this, but here we are.
Exactly, I know. If you try to explain stuff to people that don't know what you're talking about, it is a bit like, I know, I do sound mad, yeah. I gotta admit.
I remember meeting this one girl. She was telling me, trying to explain to me the Mandela effect when not Mandela, is
Mandela.
it Mandela effect? And I just remember being like, this girl is tapped. I was like, I have no idea what she's talking about. And then of course, it gets reintroduced into my life, and I'm like, well, she was
Oh.
normal this whole time. But man, yeah, I remember actually my friend owned a smoke shop and I would go hang out there and the characters that would hang around there. It's like but now I think of it, I'm like these characters are my people now.
Yeah.
I remember this one guy like running in and I think he may have been hopped up on something, but he went off. He was like Hillary Clinton's an alien and blah 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 and I was like, oh,
What?
what dude, I'm like, you can't be going around saying that to people. It's like, but then I'm like, well, maybe he wasn't too far off from the truth, but we
Yeah.
won't we won't go there.
Who's just going on with those weirdos? Oh,
Yeah,
I know.
yeah. I I'm now looking back at certain conversations that I've had with people, and I'm like, damn, I should have listened harder because you were so right.
It's interesting though, isn't it? Right? Like you can't be told those things sometimes. Sometimes you like need to be shown, don't you? Or like it needs to be your own where you go, well, you've had that seed planted, and then you go, hang on a minute, I need to go and research that because and then you go down the rabbit hole, don't you? All 10. Because they just go on. I found that's how I've learned things, I guess, from hearing people say stuff to like being like, well,
Yeah, it's like that moment of like, was I meant to hear that for a reason to then go research it and then just add that to my library of things. Yeah, that's how I've learned a lot about this stuff. Like I'm no one special. I have no intel or anything. Like it's all just been like
yeah,
little things here and there that like have just popped into my life. And I'm like, all right, that sounds interesting. I'll look that up. And
yeah,
if you get pretty good at the research side of things, like if you're good at digging, you know, there's a lot out there. And that's what's frustrating. Like when people are like, well, where are your sources? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, do
everywhere.
you want me to go down like the thousands of like hours that I feel like I've just like,
No,
you
don't
know,
be lazy. Do your own research. It's
yeah,
funny because the people that tell you to do your research are the ones that do the least. They just look on the news, look on Wikipedia. They done their research. Well, guess what, bugs? It's rigged.
yeah. And that was the one thing I was taught in college. Like if I handed in a paper and any of my sources were from Wikipedia, they would hand it back to me and be like, redo your research. Like they would not accept anything from Wikipedia. So I'm like, if like that's like
That's the
a
hope.
known thing, I'm like, stop using that as a main source. I'm like,
Exactly.
I even met a guy, he came into my store. He was one of the guys that does the editing on Wikipedia. And I was like,
Hmm.
"Oh, so you actually have this job to like maybe change things? Like that's your thing?" I don't know. It just seemed a little like suspicious, but
Yeah, it
whatever.
used to be like everyone could edit it, and now obviously it's not. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so sus. They're all paid for. You can't. That's why you've got to do your own research and find out this information because it is out there. And as they
Oh
always
yeah.
say, follow the money. That will lead you.
That's all I've been telling people that are kind of slowly diving into this world. I always say, just follow the money. Like
Mhm.
it'll tell you all the answers.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. When you look at that little, what they call box grid thing, I don't even know, box flow chart, then it goes back up to who owns everything.
yeah, it's wild. So, yeah, that it's just all those little bits have been definitely part of this awakening experience. And, I still have more work to do. Like, I'm not saying I'm an enlightened being. Like, I mean, if I was, I'd probably have been, I'd be off this earth.
You wouldn't be
I wouldn't be,
here.
but I know that I have a mission to help. I know there's a reason why I'm still here. Um, because I would have booted myself off this godforsaken place a while ago, but there is something telling me that nope, you gotta,
We've got
stick
a
it
new
out.
earth to build.
Yeah, and it'll be more fun, um, you know, in the next phase of things, because it can't continue on like this. It won't.
We are here for this really turbulent time of change, aren't we? And that's why you're getting called to all these places to do light grid work.
I think so.
And
Yeah, I'm determined to keep going. Like I can't be stopped at this point. So
yeah, and it's like you said, we're not ascended. We're not. We're just on the journey like everybody else, imperfect humans, trying
trying
our best.
our best.
To
I
learn.
my friend says she's like, I'm just jellyfishing along. I'm like, that's such a good way to put it.
I
Just
like that.
jellyfish.
I need to jellyfish more.
Yeah. It's like I'm just chilling, and you gotta flow like that or else your awakening experience is gonna be very turbulent. So the more calm you can be throughout all of this, the best. I think
Yeah,
that's my one suggestion for everybody who maybe is starting their awakening journey. And it's going to look different. I mean, my awakening journey is, my fingerprint, and yours is your fingerprint. Everyone's going to have their own different experiences, and it's not going to be rainbows and sunshine,
exactly.
unfortunately.
No,
Like
not
that
all of it.
video that remember you had just commented on that video I had posted of that kid that's like
Oh,
flying through.
that.
He's like, "Oh, I like this," and then he's like,
That's okay now.
"That's exactly what it's like. It's like
Exactly. What a
the
ride.
emotions."
What a ride.
Yeah, what a freaking ride this has been so far.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining me today for a lovely
Thank
chat.
you for having.
Perhaps, sorry, there's going to time delay there. Perhaps we can talk about the dark night of the soul in another video, which is another part of the awakening.
Oh, yeah, forgot to talk about that part.
Yeah, well, there's loads to talk about, isn't there? We could chat and come up with different stories because there's so much, isn't there?
Yeah, I'll have to do some thinking on that one because I have had dark nights of the soul that um were maybe not as drastic, but um yeah, I'll have to do some thinking on that one because I feel like there are multiple. So
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah,
do my
no.
homework.
Well, that's it. I've been through multiple. It's not just like I didn't just have one. I had every time you have a new breakthrough or new, what's it called? Paradigm shift in the mind, cognitive dissonance, all of that. When each time you go through that, you get another sort of dark night in the sun. They come in many, many ways. Some last ages, some not very long. So
Right. Yeah, and I think doesn't that have to do with a lot of like um maybe your birth chart too? Like
chart, shadow work, all of it.
um there are ways to maybe know when you're going to maybe be dealing with
Uh,
a situation.
yeah,
Are you able
I'm
to kind
definitely
of
no
predict?
astrologer. I don't know how you would do
I'll
that,
ask
but
my astrology friends.
yeah, do that. Maybe you
Yeah,
get in for a chat.
yeah. But this has been lovely. Thank you for
Thank
letting
you
me
so
share
much.
my story. Now that I think of it, you're the first person I've shared kind of all of that at once. So you got like pretty much the full story.
You're
So
honoured. Thank you.
yeah, thank you for that and for being so welcoming to these subjects because yeah, it's not always easy to talk about this stuff and you know
It's so
it
fascinating to me. I love it.
Oh yeah, yeah. I love hearing other people's stories. It's really cool because then I know that,
Yeah,
you can just see that the whole world is awakening around you, which is it's beautiful. So
yeah, it's wonderful.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Right, bye everyone. We're going to stop recording. Still thinking.
Still